Welcome, acolytes, apprentices, students, to the Arcane Archive! Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen! We are back once again. That's right, for another astounding episode of MetaTalks. Indeed, y'all are getting a two-parter here, back to back. That's right, for you guys. We're putting in some extra effort today. We hope you guys enjoy. We're coming right off of just talking about our beloved martial baddies, the barbarian and fighter, and we're diving right on into this one, which is what are we talking about for this episode, Samuel?
Well, we're doing a double header
Hmm.
of subclass discussions, but this time
Hmm.
we're going from two very melee classes to just hit things with big stick to I think two classes that are kind of on the opposite end of the casting table.
A little bit,
We
they
are going
can be.
with cleric and warlock today.
Warlock and Cleric. Oh, we got the sugar daddy with the other sugar daddy, kinda, but it's both of these are maybe one side is a bit more like less scrupulous, while the other one's a little bit more wholesome. But really, it depends on the flavor overall. Like honestly, the patrons and deities themselves. But we all love clerics and warlocks. I mean, for various reasons. You know what I mean? They're both, however, very magical based. So yes, we're going from the mundane martials to the more the mysterious, mystical spellcasters. Uh, what do you think of the new kind of warlocks and clerics, Sam? Are you excited to kind of get into this? Like, I assume you have a personal favorite you'd like to talk about today.
Oh, for warlock? I mean, yeah, it's obviously a great old one.
Oh, we're gonna look with the. I'm so excited.
The
Uh,
reality is Warlock, well, fun did have a lot of issues in 5e. Um, the more subclasses that they released for it, I think it gave it breathed some new life into it as a class.
mm,
They have changed a bit now.
gosh.
The thing is they haven't really changed um their spell casting all that much. It's about what it was before. Um,
Well,
so
yeah,
it's not terrible, but
let's talk about it and compare then. As always, before we get started, of course, in earnest, if you guys like what we're doing here, like, comment, share, subscribe, that whole shebang. You know the drill by now. We appreciate any and all support that you can offer. Can't pay for that kind of advertisement. And, overall, we love you guys. We enjoy doing this for the fun of it. We hope that you guys are enjoying kind of chilling with us too. But with all of the annoying little housekeeping out the way, now we can truly dive back down into the archive. Samuel, please continue.
well,
Apologies for the
no.
disruption.
You did the thing that I would have forgotten to do, so don't worry about it. So here's what I'm noticing right off the bat. One, and I don't think I'm going to go through all of them or many of them at all, really, because that's kind of the fun of you guys doing this yourselves at some point. There are new Eldritch invocations,
Mm.
which is going to change a lot about how you build a warlock.
Yeah,
On top of that, you get more of them.
I was gonna say, like,
So
tell us a little bit about the
so
differences between the old edition
yeah.
compared to the new one
So
here.
we'll go kind of down the line. You used to at level 1 you started with no invocations, and at level 2 through 4 you got up to 2 invocations. Level 5 and 6 you had 3, level 7 and 8 you had 4, levels 9 through 11 you had 5, levels 12 through 14 you had 6, levels 15 through 17 you had 7 invocations, and level 18 to 20 you capped out at 8 invocations.
A lot
Now
of invocations. No,
eight's nothing to sneeze at.
nothing to sneeze at. This is
But
true.
now
Ooh, we get a little bit
level
more.
1,
No, we get a
level
little bit
1,
more. No.
level 1, guess what? You already have an invocation.
Oh,
Boom. You right away you have one.
oh, snap.
And at levels 2 through 4 you have 3.
You get bumped up, Ned, more than double the amount. That's awesome.
5 and 6 you have up to 5 invocations. Levels 7 and 8 you get 6. Levels 9 and 10 and 11 you're at 7. And level 8 through 14, or level 12 through 14, you have 8 invocations. You are at what a previously
Was a
level 20 warlock.
capstone.
Your capstone now starts at level 12 and ends at level 14.
That's
15
awesome.
through 17, you get to 9. 18 through 20, you get to 10 invocations. Doesn't sound like much, but 2 invocations can make a
Mm.
huge difference.
Really, I mean,
Now,
especially with how powerful they can be, and we got new ones to talk about, y'all.
you also, you know, you still get the same thing at level 1 pretty much. Your patron, your elder, well, no, you get your, oh, they changed it.
A little bit, a little bit.
You
Again,
don't get
it's
your patron anymore at first level. You are just a warlock with basic powers.
pact
Um,
magic.
you get pack magic just like before. It's the weird, your spell slots are all the same level. You have very little spell slots. I do not think they changed that. I believe it's about the same in
Let's
terms of
see.
your
Spells
prepared
known, two,
spells.
three,
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
15. Yeah, prepared spells all seem, the known spells all seem to be the
And
same.
your slots are the same as well.
One, two,
So
three.
there's unfortunately no big change in there. But you used to pick the type of warlock you were right away.
Yep.
Now you don't.
Yeah, it's like with every other class, you get your subclass now at third level. They
Yeah,
all get that
which
at
I
third
get
level
it.
now. Yep.
You get pack magic and eldritch invocations right away.
So that still supplements
Um,
that. It helps a lot. Let's see. Eldritch, replacing, giving me a pack magic. Let's see real quick, like for warlocks, it hang on. Compared to the others, do they get whoops, cleric traits? Do they also get ritual spells too?
no, you
Interesting.
didn't originally.
Divine, protect, spell casting. Because I'm wondering, because I know that like certain, I'm trying to remember if for the new rules, if they made it where spells now themselves, if spells have the ritual tag, any spellcaster can just cast them ritually.
No, you have to have ritual cast still.
That's what I was thinking.
So they've actually removed ritual casting from
Yeah, because it's like
multiple
it's like
casters.
a feat now that you can
Yeah.
technically take.
And for
Um,
Warlock, I'm assuming you could still. I'm assuming there's still a ritual caster like book thing that because they got that before.
well, because I
But
know
well, I don't know
like
if they do anymore.
yeah, because I know like for sorcerers, I think they can kind of at least I have spells that I can cast as rituals. So let's see. Ritual caster. Berg is at level 4. Choose a number of cast a ritual spell. Quick ritual. So I think, I mean, I have to look more closely before because I'm wondering because I think you can technically cast certain ritual spells. Uh, oop, as rituals because even if you don't have like the ritual feat, but yeah, it might be specifically that, like you said, they made it so that like before, only certain classes can cast rituals, but they maybe change some of the classes that are able to do that now.
So there is a big change, and there's a reason. And we're just realizing this now that you get your first invocation at level 1. They took something out. Pact
Ah,
boon.
yeah, I was gonna
Pact
say.
boon is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the exchange is now you get your subclass at third level, but your first Eldritch Invocation can be Pact of the Blade, or Pact of the Chain, or Pact of the Tome. So I think it kind of equals
It
out
yeah,
anyway.
maybe balances out a little bit. Yeah, it's not a
Um,
huge real change like buff or
no,
debuff.
but you basically get the same stuff. Another new thing that they got is Magical Cunning. You can perform an esoteric rite for 1 minute. At the end of it, you regain expended packed magic spell slots, but no more than a number equal to half your maximum, round up. Once you use
Ooh.
this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So it's another integrated way for you to get back some of your magic.
That's always great especially for warlocks. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's a 1 minute little ritual, and you just get them back, but no more than a
Um,
number equal to half your maximum. So
so it's not
you'd only get back so what, level 2? You have currently You have two spell slots at level 2. They're both just level 1 spell slots, and you can have 3 spells prepared. So you technically only get level 1 spell slot back from that.
But you never know. I mean,
But still
it can
have your
still
spell
be
slots
helpful.
though. I mean, absolutely. Getting back a spell is still better than having none.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
only
you
once per
lose.
long
You
rest.
lose an ability score improvement. No, you don't. Never
No,
mind.
no, 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 no. So yeah, it's still at
I'm
4,
bad.
8,
I'm
12, and
terrible.
16. No, it's okay.
The
I question
next
it
new
too.
thing, aside from the subclass changes, is at level 9,
I do like this actually.
contact patron.
Yeah,
In the
I
past,
actually do like this.
you usually contracted your patron through intermediaries. Now you can communicate directly. You always have the contact other plane spell prepared. With this feature, you can cast a spell without expending a spell slot to contract your patron, and you automatically succeed on the spell's saving throw. Once you cast a spell with this feature, you can't do so again in this way until you finish a long rest. This is a 5th level spell.
This right here, okay. All right, acolytes. One of the biggest things about Warlock, as you no doubt maybe are already aware of, but if you're not, one of the coolest, most amazing things about Warlocks that sets them apart from a lot of their other spellcaster brethren, even clerics and paladins, is the nature of their relationship with their patron. Specifically, these types of patrons are usually far more involved than a lot of the cleric or the paladin's gods might be at any given moment, right? We've talked about this before. Like, in my opinion, I still feel like the gods should be more involved in the games a lot of the time, like in the campaign, because they are just so prevalent and present. Um, but I understand too that a lot of people might maybe want to keep, the whole aspect of maybe Deus Ex Machina or other stuff, to a minimum by lowering the involvement directly of the gods. But with a warlock, it's a bit different because most of their patrons aren't necessarily full-fledged gods. They're usually just higher planar or higher level beings that are still very much prevalent, present, and involved. Like when a warlock has a patron, they are usually very interested because they are directly connected to that patron and then subsequently to the warlock. So previously, with like the old 2014, you could only really showcase that if your GM was kind of really good enough to explore that relationship and that dynamic, right? It was much more role play based rather than being able to mechanically induce it or conjure it. Whereas now, with this lovely little ability, you can just do this now once per long rest whenever you want at level 9 to literally have a literal direct line to your patron to kind of communicate and talk more, which again, personally, I love. The roleplay potential is phenomenal. What do you think, bud?
I love it. Obviously, contact other plane is very limited. It's a yes, no, maybe, never. It's like one word answers unless your DM wants to give you a little bit more. But I like this fact that it's like I have a direct connection and it's supported by the in-game like
Mechanics.
mechanics.
Yeah.
Because that's similar to cleric, um, or paladin, or I guess maybe even druid in a lesser sense.
Or in a more
You,
abstract sense. Yeah.
yeah, you want to, the whole point of this subclass or like this class and what you then pick as your subclass is like the being that gives you your powers because you're very different in terms of why you have your magic than I would say a lot of other casters. Um, and I think it's a different relationship than every other caster, obviously.
Just
Um,
about. Very,
it is
very
literally
close.
an entity directly influencing your ability. And not like a cleric where it's like there's this prayer or a paladin where there's this oath. It's like it could be a contract, a blood seal. Someone may have cursed you. Like
I was gonna
This is
say it
like,
could be like a tie to your soul, like it's
yeah,
like
someone else could own your soul, and that's why you have power. Like, it's a very different type of connection. It can be antagonistic. It can be
symbiotic.
symbiotic. It can be even friendly. There aren't Not every entity is evil. Um, but it's a whole different way of looking at magic in that kind of relationship with another entity. So it's one of my favorite. That's why I love
Yeah.
Warlock so much.
I mean, a great, again, best
Um,
example is Will from Baldur's Gate 3. I thought they did his story and they showcased the dynamic between a warlock and their patron quite phenomenally with Will's story, in my opinion. It was a great depiction, and again, more so of like the example that Sam gave of antagonistic, right? Will and his patron, not friends in any way, shape, or form. She literally tricked him into becoming this thing, and if you, depending on the choices you make in the game, if you're not really appeasing her, she can then punish Will accordingly in certain ways. And so it's again fantastic. I highly suggest if you guys are interested in Warlock, check out kind of Will's story. It's a great showcase. Again, it doesn't always have to be that way because, like Sam said, they're not always antagonistic or bad. They can be great. They can be symbiotic, or they can even be highly supportive and healthy relationships. Um, which again, it's one of the best things about Warlock. That's why so many people love Warlock, is that just juicy, meaty roleplay potential that you don't really get, like what Sam said, in terms of like, I would say Cleric is the closest thing to a Warlock, because again, Clerics do technically also get their powers more directly from a god, as opposed to like a Paladin, which is they get more so their powers directly, like Sam said, from their oath, from their personal belief and dedication. Um, but clerics are probably the closest thing to like being like they have direct connections to these beings who grant them blessings, boons, and power, but in kind of different ways. But please do continue, bud.
yeah. Um, as far as the rest of their kit, the Mystic Arcanum is the same as it was before. The spells you get outside of your pack magic, with I think the difference being you can replace them.
Yeah, you can finish at higher spells.
Yeah, you just get to replace them when you level up. So that's nice. You did not get to do that before. Um, Eldritch Master has been changed. No, it's basically the same thing. When you do your thing, you get level 2, the
Yeah,
magical cunning.
so
Now you get all your stuff back. So they didn't really change the level 20 ability. It's still, eh.
it's not the worst. It's just obviously I mean, I guess it's a bit like as a warlock, yeah, it's pretty valuable as a warlock, but it's also just kind of simplistic and underwhelming too, because
Yeah.
it's just you basically draw on your inner reserve of mystical power while entreating your patron to regain expended spell slots. You spend 1 minute entreating your patron for aid to regain all your expended spell slots from your pact magic. Once you regain spell slots with this feature, you have to finish a long rest before you do so. Yeah, it's just the same thing, except they just made it slightly less flavorful, because it's just like when you use your magical cunning feature, you just regain all your spell slots now.
Yeah. So at this point, I want to go into, well, my favorite Warlock subclass, which is Great Old One, because they did change, I think, quite a few things.
Still a fan of Great
Um,
Old One even in the past. I didn't think it was actually that bad.
it wasn't great,
It wasn't the best, but then
no,
again, a
but
lot of
I
a lot
like
of
it.
Warlock subclasses were
We're not
not the
very good.
best. In fact,
Um,
one of them was probably the worst subclass of the entire game.
are you talking about? Are
Oh, we
you
know
talking
it.
about
We
the
all
Undying
know
Warlock?
it. Yes, we are
Um,
talking about the Undying Warlock.
yeah, but luckily that's not here yet.
Yeah,
Until they inevitably remake a book and put it in there.
maybe
Um,
hopefully better than it was, because
I
almost
think, you know
almost
what,
any
Adam?
changes would make
Adam,
it
I
better
think they should
than
change
it
it and make
was.
it worse.
Oh, really? You think they should just make it Actually, I don't know if it was the Undying. It was Undying or the Undead
They're
Warlock. It
both
was.
bad.
They're both bad, but one of them was
I
worse
think it
than the
was
other.
Undying was the one that we talked about,
Yeah,
where me
I
and you were
think
literally having like an aneurysm going over the
yeah,
specifics.
I think it was Undying was the worst one. Spare the
All right.
dying, good
So
true.
here's some of the changes. Obviously instead of getting it at level 1, you get things at level 3 now. But at level 3 for Great Old One, you get Awakened Mind. Now you had Awakened Mind originally in the old one, but it's been changed slightly. Awakened Mind before was just you can telepathically speak to a creature within 30 feet of you. You don't need to share a language with the creature for it to understand your utterances, but the creature must be able to understand at least one language. That was the original.
Mhm.
Now it's changed. You can form a telepathic connection between
Mm.
your mind and the mind of another. As a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. You and that chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other while the two of you are within a number of miles of each other equal to your charisma modifier. To understand each other, you each must mentally use the language the other knows.
Mm.
The telepathic connection lasts for a number of minutes equal to your warlock level. It ends early if you use this feature to connect with a different creature. So it's interesting because it lasts for only a certain, like a couple of minutes, but you can be as far away as five
Yes,
miles.
five
So
miles. Like
it's a bit strange, but here's what I like about the change. One, well, actually, I like the original more, I think, but
Zergmore
I
might be a little
still
bit more flexible. Yeah,
what I do like though is it does make sense that you have to both speak a language that each other can understand. Um,
agreed.
and it's not just you speaking at someone now. Because the old one,
It was specifically you.
you talk to them.
I mean that's the thing.
Now it's a telepathic connection. Before it was just you speak to
Yeah,
people in
and
their head. They couldn't respond to you. But now you can have a conversation with someone telepathically and no one is
they
any the
can
wiser.
respond. Yeah,
And it's
I
not a
think.
spell. So like you're
Nope.
not like doing something weird. You're just literally looking at someone. Say you're at a crowded bar and you see like the guy in the the obviously suspicious guy in the corner. You can just talk to them from across the bar.
And they won't even know it's you.
No, not
Like,
necessarily. And
and
I
I mean,
like that. I like that it's a conversation as opposed
agreed.
to before where it was just I'm gonna say creepy shit in someone's head to distract them while my friend steals their money.
Yeah,
But
which is still nice. Like, that's still cool too.
it's a bit
But
weird still, obviously, and you can still do that. You can totally just say shit into someone's head and then cut it off.
yeah.
Which so you can still technically do some of the same things you did before. The understanding being both of you having to speak a language the other one understands is gonna fuck up some of that, but I still like the idea because you can still creep somebody out by just speaking gibberish into their brain.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
the weird you can it only lasts up to max I guess 20 minutes,
Yeah, at max level
but you could be within 5 miles, but you have to be within 30 feet.
to
So
make the initial
it's
connection.
a very
Yeah,
strange, like I'm wondering if it's like so I could teleport
I
away and still talk to you, or if I get separated from you, but that's 5 miles isn't really that long um in terms of teleportation. So it's a
yeah.
bit of a strange one. I'm a bit confused by their choices here.
I think they tried to like in terms of just telepathy in general in the original like 2014 it was very ambiguous. They didn't really make a lot of like more specific rules on telepathy unless it was like like because I know for
Telepathic
instance
bond.
yeah like it was usually spells were the things that allowed you to like speak back and forth, right? Otherwise other forms of telepathy were usually just one way. It was usually just like if you got like the telepathic feet that came out in like Tasha's or whatever. If you got, and technically, I think even that feat that's currently in the 2024, it still does specifically stipulate that you can only speak to them. You can't dual speak. But I do know, like, I think that they also put a specific cap or blurb in the new maybe Dungeon Master's Guide or the Player's Handbook about telepathy, and that like any creature that has telepathy as a language in like the monster manual or something telepathy basically works two ways, I guess. I think. Again, I'm not entirely sure because I know there are a lot of other telepathy that doesn't work like that. It's not two ways. We actually had a conversation about this in the campaign I'm a part of recently, where like if telepathy functioned like a two-way
Well,
call
yeah, and
thing,
it
it
didn't
it
in the Great
you
Old
yeah
One.
in the great old one, as well as like if you're like a what do they call the telepathic spirit people again? Uh, Fuck. Hang on a minute. I'm blanking again on these. The fuck. I know the name of them too. It starts with a K. But they're the human looking people who basically have like psychic powers. And the Kalishtar.
Oh,
That's the word. The
yeah, the
Kalishtar.
Kalishtar.
When the Kalishtar, same thing for them. They can create a telepathic. They can either just speak telepathically straight to a person, or they have a specific ability that allows them to create a telepathic bond and connection temporarily with one person, so they can respond. Um, but it was only ever limited. It only lasted for a little amount of time. And so it was like things like that. So it's like even now telepathy is still kind of difficult to define, but I like that they did it a little bit more here where yeah, they made it a two-way street now. You could choose to just talk directly to them, or you can form a telepathic connection within one person within 30 feet. And then that connection just lasts for when you first get it, it would just be a maximum of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Which, but you also can, I believe, you can just keep doing it over and over
Yeah.
again.
There's no,
Like,
as long as the person is still within 30 feet of you, there's no limit to how long you can do this.
yeah, you can just keep it's
Um,
only if they're taken like 30 feet away from you within like after that 3 minute time span.
yeah,
And so you can still do it, which is great.
yeah.
Um
But it's one of those things. I love that flavor. The telepathic talking is one of my favorite bits of Great Old
Same.
One.
I always love
Um,
telepathy. It's just so nice. It's just so
yeah.
helpful.
The other thing that kind of stays the same, kind of changes, is there is the expanded spell list. You do get more. Kind of. It's
No,
I
you
think
you
no,
definitely do. Yeah,
no,
you get.
it's about the same actually.
We'll see. Well, no, because at level 3 you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Although then again, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess because at level
So
2,
so you get detect thoughts, dissonant whispers, phantasmal voice, and Tasha's hideous laughter at level 3, which is the same thing you got at levels 1 and 2
yeah, 1, 2,
originally.
3, 4, 5,
At level
6.
5 you get
No, you
clairvoyance
get the
and
same amount. It's 10 for both.
yeah, but they changed it
They
slightly.
changed some of the spells though. Yeah.
So you get at Warlock level 5 you get clairvoyance and hunger of Hadar. At level 7 you get confusion and summon aberration. And at 9, Warlock level 9, you get modify memory and telekinesis. Which before you got dominate beast, sending, and dominate person, you no longer get those. So it's like it's
Dominate
fine.
Beast is terrible, but
Dominate person's great.
Dominate Person's great. Dominate Beast is terrible. Nobody's gonna fucking use Dominate Beast.
No, because it's a beast, and nobody
Exactly.
gives a shit about beasts. Dominate
No,
creature. Is there dominate creature? Is that a thing?
no, it's not.
Oh,
I think it's Dominate Monster is what you're thinking
oh,
of.
monster. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Dominate
the good one.
Monster. Yeah, Dominate Monster is the one you can just get anybody. It's just anything.
Yeah, it's anyone. But you do get a new thing at level 3 that you did not get before, and that is psychic spells. When you cast a
Ooh.
warlock spell that deals damage, you can change its damage type to psychic. In addition, when you cast a warlock spell that is enchantment or illusion, you can do so without verbal or somatic components.
Love that. I love everything about that. That's awesome.
Um, they then replaced the level 6 feature, which used to be Entropic Ward, which was not very good.
Pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
It
Pretty
was where
dog
you
shit.
could magically ward yourself against an attack. Um, so when the creature makes attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that roll. If the attack misses you, your next attack roll against the creature has advantage if you make it before the end of your next turn. And you can do that once per rest. Whether that was you had to wait for your short rest or your long rest. I'm so sorry. I woke up at like 6 a.m. to work today. I am still reading. But it was not very good. It was like a one time like which only worked
Yeah.
about probably a quarter to a third of the time.
If
It was
that
only on
really,
one
yeah.
attack. One attack. So if you got attacked 3 times, you're kind of fucked anyway. But now it's replaced with clairvoyant combatant, When you form a telepathic bond with a creature using your awakened mind, you can force that creature to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and you have advantage on attack rolls against the creature for the duration of the bond.
Which is at this point 6 minutes.
When you use this feat, once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you expend a pact magic spell slot, no action required, to restore your use of it. Now, this pairs very well with the next bit. Before you got Thought Shield at 10th level, which meant your thoughts can't be read by telepathy or by any other means unless you allow it. You have resistance to psychic damage, and whenever a creature deals psychic damage to you, that creature takes the same amount of damage that you do.
It's not the worst. I mean,
now you still get Thought Shield.
You do.
It's exactly the same.
Yep. It's just
now you also get a bonus thing called Eldritch Hex. Your alien patron grants you a powerful curse. You always have the Hex spell prepared. When you cast Hex and choose an ability, the target also has disadvantage on saving throws of the chosen ability for the duration of the spell. That's awesome.
Because before, see, that's the thing. A lot of people take Hex thinking that it does this.
Yeah, but now it does if you play a Great Old One.
But if you play a Great Old One, it actually does it. So normal Hex, unfortunately, it only affects ability checks, specifically with that chosen attribute. Now, though, this actually does affect saving throws. So if you Hex somebody and you always have it prepared,
which means when you hit level 10, just replace Hex on your list.
Yeah, if you already had it for whatever reason.
Well,
and then
you should have Hex.
You should probably have Hex, yeah, quite frankly, because it just gives you extra damage, and you should have Hex. You should maybe have Hex, but also you have so many others. You have such few spell slots and other spells for concentration. It depends on what you're really trying to.
You should have Hex.
Do there, maybe. But now you always will have Hex. To Sam's point, you should have Hex because you just have Hex now at level 10.
Have Hex.
You just have Hex. But also this Hex is also way better than the previous Hex, and that it fucks with people's saving throws. And there are very few things in the game that can really fuck with an enemy's saving throw.
Yeah.
This being the case, you hit him with the Hex, you hit him with the Wisdom.
This is a rough one because not only is Hex not a saving throw spell, it just happens.
It just happens.
This pairs very well with your Clairvoyant Combatant.
Yes, it does.
Because now you pick one person that you want to say, fuck you.
In particular,
they have disadvantage on whatever save you choose because of Hex. They have disadvantage on attack rolls against you.
So for your concentration.
And you have attack rolls on them. You have
at advantage
on those. So you have hexed them. Just shoot them a bunch. And
I was going to say, you get the Eldritch Invocations for your Eldritch Blast.
And now you have advantage. You do Hex damage. You deal bonus damage. And you're more.
They have to make a saving throw. You get crits at like on 19s or whatever. And
then if you have friends that want to, grapple them or maybe blow them up with a fireball or whatever, you can give them disadvantage on that.
On the save. Or hell, you don't have disadvantage in getting pushed back or pulled forward by your
luckily, those don't require saves.
That's true.
But yeah, I think it's a really good combo. I think this definitely
it feels good. It just feels good.
Blast Warlock, but at the same time, you could very well use this to be an annoying Pact of the Blade Warlock.
You kind of just shut somebody's shit down.
Because you just walk up to someone in specific. You have advantage on all your attacks against them. They have disadvantage on attacks against you. They have disadvantage on a saving throw of your choice. And you have resistance to psychic damage. Like I like it. And I actually kind of think playing Great Old One as a Pact of the Blade midline fighter gets even more annoying when you have the other new ability at 14th level, Create Thrall. You can cast Summon Aberration. Or when you cast Summon Aberration, you can modify it so it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute. And when summoned, the aberration has a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. In addition, the first time each turn the aberration hits a creature under the effect of your hex, the aberration deals extra psychic damage to the target equal to the bonus damage of that spell.
Which is, again, this one is different from the old 2014 one. There was this, they're called the same thing, but they're completely different.
Yeah.
The old one was basically you gain the ability to infect a humanoid's mind with the alien magic of your patron. You can use your action to touch an incapacitated humanoid. That creature is then charmed by you until a remove curse spell is cast on it. The charm condition is removed from it, or you use this feature again. You can communicate telepathically with a charmed creature as long as the two of you are on the same plane of existence. So basically, it wasn't even really necessarily a thrall. It was just you charm somebody. Like you couldn't control them, technically speaking. You weren't like you just basically made somebody like you a lot. They just really liked you. You know what I mean? They're much easier to manipulate, and convince, but they weren't. You couldn't control them. Whereas obviously this now is completely different. You literally just summon an aberration. Now you don't have to use it at concentration, which is great. It lasts for an hour. So you just have this guy here for an hour. And like you said, you get temporary hit points, plus each time the aberration hits a creature under the effect of your hex, it just deals extra damage. Like, I think this one's definitely far more applicable and usable, at least when you really need it to be, right? The other one can be cool if your GM allows you to have some really cool RP moments and stuff. But it was highly situational and just very dependent on very specific, moments and opportunities. Whereas this one,
Yeah.
you're just kind of better in combat now. So now, obviously, you should also just always have summon aberration. Is the only thing here for this. Like, you'll need summon aberration.
Yeah. Now the other thing, they have changed some of the um Eldritch invocations.
Yeah, so let's
With
check out
with
some of the newer ones.
well, here's one of the ones that I really like, which I think puts Warlock on par with some of the other like spell sword classes. Devouring Blade.
No longer Hungering Blade.
No,
Okay.
no, no. Thirsting Blade still
Oh, Thirsting
exists.
Blade's still there. Okay.
You now get 2 extra attacks.
It's just
You
an
can attack three
improved,
times.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an
So
improved version of
similar
Thirsting Blade.
to Pathfinder Second Edition, 3.5, some of the other like D&D things, other types of D&D, there's multiple, like now you can kind of it's a build a bear warlock.
Build a
Um
Warlock. All
yeah,
right.
like Agonizing Blast has been changed. It's only one of your cantrips. So you have to pick your cantrip.
But you can choose anyone except for just Eldritch Blast.
But you
Okay.
can choose another can. You don't have. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
Eldritch
it doesn't
Blast
have to be
anymore.
Eldritch Blast anymore.
Which
Yeah.
I kind of like. But also, why would you pick anything but Eldritch Blast? Unless you are, maybe you're not going to be that far away. Maybe you want to pick something that's more close range. Who knows?
Because it could
But
also particularly add it to if you're a spell blade, for instance, if you're a hex blade, you can coat your blade in one of your spells
I don't know if it works on that one.
and add
But
agonizing blast. I mean, choose one of your warlock spell cantrips that deal damage. You just add your
yeah,
charisma modifier
it,
to that
it
spell's
would be
damage roll. So if you
interesting.
cast green flame blade, it adds it to your sword. It technically would also have
I
agonizing
don't know.
blast on it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how well that works, or if it's supposed to work that way. I like the idea. But
Because you
like,
would,
there's
unless of course, because again, here's the thing: with the thirsting blade, do you technically still apply? Hang on, pact of the blade proficiency. You can use your charisma modifier. So the question is if you'd be able to add your charisma fighter again on
no, it would
top
be
of
to the
that spell,
damage.
because it's like you with pact of the blade. If you have that, you already add your charisma modifier for attack and damage rolls. Um, if you want to, though, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it
Because
works like that because it's not the cantrip isn't dealing damage when you cast it.
it technically is. They're like you technically cast the spell and you attack because it's not like a bonus action. It's literally part of the action of attacking with the sword. So it is technically you cast the spell and you're attacking it and it deals damage on top of the sword's damage. And then so technically, if you're like I think there's a legitimate argument to be made that you could maybe apply your charisma modifier twice to the attack if we didn't want to go that route, you could still technically apply. You could just still technically use like Dex or Strength or whatever, which would still technically be an extra additional, not maybe as much as if you got your charisma modifier twice, but that would still technically be extra damage if you did it. Because it specifically says for agonizing, just choose one of your warlock cantrips that deals damage. You can add your charisma modifier to that spell's damage rolls. So like Green Flame Blade does deal damage aside from just like, you know, the normal blade damage too. Because it is part of the attack action or whatever, the magic attack action to cast the spell and strike with the sword. So you could kind of get some pretty heavy, juicy, meaty melee magic melee attacks with that. Let's see, Eldritch Spite, Spear.
They did nerf Pact of the Tome.
Did they? What's different now with Pact of the Tome?
So they took away because of the ritual casting. They took away They took away the ritual caster, like the black tome thing.
Again, I'm wondering, like, I think you might be able to just. I think most spellcasters, if the spell itself for them,
you can't. So you cannot cast ritual spells as a warlock unless you take Pact of the Tome, or if there's a ritual caster feat.
Ritual.
So they basically like put it in there.
Yeah. Hang on, I don't want the feats. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that even more because let's see, ritual. Well, hang on, glossary. Yeah, ritual. No. Okay, so if you have a spell prepared that has the ritual tag, you can cast that spell as a ritual. The ritual version of the spell takes 10 minutes longer to cast than normal. It also doesn't expend a spell slot, which means the ritual version of a spell can't be cast at a higher level. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it is. They changed it where the casters themselves no longer need to have the actual ritual feat or tag. It's specifically if a spell has the ritual and you have it prepared, you can then cast that spell as a ritual. Because I was going to say, like, I can cast ritual spells as a sorcerer now because the spells themselves are rituals. But taking the ritual feat allows you to, like, just have multiple, like, you just always have those ritual spells prepared and can always cast a set number of ritual spells. And then it allows you to even cast certain ritual spells, like, quicker, like once per long rest or something. So now, that's what I was going to say. In the game now, if a spell you have prepared has the ritual tag, you can just cast it as a ritual spell now. Which I think is, nice. Yeah, I think it's way better. Because it was super annoying, because back in the day, yeah, warlocks, unless they had Pact of the Tome, bards, sorcerers, none of them could cast, fucking, I don't even think paladins could either unless they had specific spells. By the way, so many spellcasters could not cast ritual spells. It was such shit. Especially, again, those fucking casters had less spell slots was the worst part about it. But now they did fix that, where now, if the spell itself has the ritual tag, you can cast it as a ritual spell. Any spellcaster can, by the looks of it.
Oh, they took away my favorite invocation.
Oh, which one was that?
Improved pack weapon.
Pack, repelling blast, thirsting blade, devouring blade. So now you can attack 3 times melee as a warlock. That's awesome. That's kind of bonkers.
Oh, I guess it doesn't really matter though, because you can just bond with a magic weapon instead.
Yeah, I think I'll just let you do that.
Okay.
Also now, well, no, I think Pact of the Chain could always do that. Never mind.
Yeah.
One with the shadows, invisibility, alter self, disguise self, life drinker. Lessons of the first ones.
They're gonna have to add more because they took out a fair amount of them.
Yeah, investment of the Chain Master. Okay. Oh, interesting. So you could technically, depending on the Find Familiar spell, you could get like a familiar that doesn't innately have fly speed or swim speed and give it fly speed or swim speed. It also has a bonus action, can take the attack action. You can change the damage type from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing to necrotic or radiant. It uses your spell save DC, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm still never gonna play a Path of the Chain.
Oh, come
Uh,
on. They're so fun. You got a beefy, great little guy. Well, one thing I will say is I think they maybe took away one of the coolest things. Like, used to be one of the best Pact of the Chain abilities was the ability, like, if you healed with your, like, familiar within 100 feet, you just get maximum healing or
yeah,
something
it's not a
like
thing
that.
anymore.
I think they took that away, which is unfortunate because
So
that
again,
one.
I think Path of the Blade got the biggest
I mean,
buff to
yeah,
that.
because everybody likes Pact of the Blade the most. Like, it was always the most popular. Hexblade was always the most popular.
Yeah, but they don't even have that anymore. I'm intrigued to see what they
No.
do. I don't. I look. I'm a little bit miffed at Warlock right now because I feel like they took away some stuff that was good, and I don't know why they took it away. Um, yes, you get more
Yeah. I don't
invocations,
really
but
think they know what to do with the
now there's
Warlock
less
is the
to choose.
problem.
There's less to choose from, and so it's like you gave me more options, but why the fuck did you take away the ones that we already had? I mean, I love the being able to attack 3 times in a turn. That's a huge one. I love
Depending on
Eldritch
depending on how
Smite.
much we got though. Like it's
Eldritch
only
Smite still being here is great. So like you can do that, but like I don't really like some of the choices. If I'm being completely honest, I don't like taking away. Like, why did you fucking take away Tomb of Levistus? Why did you take away?
yeah.
I like one of them. One of the invocations is just you gain another origin feat,
Yeah. You can
and
do
you
that
can
multiple
take that
times if
multiple
you want.
times. Like, so
Yeah.
you can get really weird and you can stack some stuff. But I do not understand why you would take out ones that already existed. And it's not like they were overpowered or problematic. So I'm a bit miffed.
Well, also I think like some of these are still some of the like the worst ones you can kind of have too. Like there's
Yeah.
almost no
So
reason to have them.
if I'm being honest, I'm not super happy right now.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who were voicing complaints and issues with the new Warlock too, from what I heard. Yeah,
like
like it
I don't
was.
hate it. There's okay, but
It's not terrible, but it's
like in terms
definitely
of a
a.
grade, if I have to grade it, it's like a C.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, yeah, at least I, I mean, I don't know. Like, especially like again, because they took away Hexblade, and now they made like Archfey, Fiend, Great Old One, Celestial. Apparently, Fiend is actually really good now too. Fiend was decent back in the day as well. It wasn't actually horrible, but apparently it's apparently like supposed to be really good now. Celestial Warlock was also one of the better ones back in the day. Um,
That's because it was one of the newer ones.
exactly. Uh, yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. So I'd say it's probably maybe like a C plus, maybe B minus, depending on what subclass and what build you're running with. Like because you could deal some pretty buco crazy nuke damage, as a with Eldritch Smite and Devouring Blade and fucking Eldritch. If you can do the whole agonizing blast with the melee weapon thing
I
too,
don't know if you
like.
can do that, but we'll figure it out one
It
day.
says cantrip. It just says cantrip that deals
Yeah,
damage.
but it doesn't deal damage. It
It
adds
does.
to your weapon. It's
No,
part
it,
of an
it deals its
attack.
own damage. It deals elemental damage, Sam.
I don't know if it
Apart from your
works.
other way, literally you deal damage with your weapon, and then the cantrip deals elemental damage apart from your weapon. It adds that to it, so it does its own damage. It's not just simply changing your weapon's damage or whatever. It literally is a damage cantrip. It just literally says a warlock cantrip that deals damage, which green flame blade, booming blade, they absolutely deal damage. Uh, the only thing that might be maybe like contentious would be adding your charisma modifier twice would be the only possible thing that might be like yeah. But in that case, you might even just be able to say, well, can I then add my dexterity modifier at least to it? Because you could technically choose to attack with your dex modifier, but instead of like you can just be like, well, I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna use charisma to attack and to damage it normally, but I'm gonna add my dex on top of it too. Or I personally would still allow them to use their charisma modifier because that's technically what the spell says, or rather what the invocation says. Is you can add your charisma modifier to that spell's damage rolls. So doesn't say anything about can't adding your charisma modifier twice.
You could use it. You could use it on True Strike.
You could do that, but you should just do green flame blade or booming blade. instead, because True Strike is just, just it's better now. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely better now than it was before. It's
Well, the
still
problem
not
that
still
I
not
think
great. Still not
Booming Blade
great.
is it's not updated.
Hang on. Booming Blade. Well, it's Sword Course Adventurer's Guide is technically what it's from. So again, at 5th level, it would deal an extra 1d8 thunder damage. It technically
It
would deal 1d8 thunder damage, after the fact. But you can still technically apply your modifier to that because it deals damage. But overall, I would agree. I'd say this is like a C plus to me, maybe a questionable B minus, depending on which subclass and invocations and build you take for it. There is, of course, as with they've clearly just made, like Sam said, this is a build a warlock workshop. You know what I mean? There is vast, crazy amounts of versatility to making your warlock now. And I guess that was maybe the point. That's why they took away Hexblade, because they basically want to be like, now any warlock can kind of technically be a Hexblade warlock, but just also with the patron, because also Hexblade didn't really have a very clear-cut patron. It was always just like, hey, your patron can be kind of anything at that point. It could be an item, like the weapon you're wielding could be your patron if it's sentient and magic and powerful. It could be that your patron gave you a weapon or something to, so it was a little less, it was a little more ambiguous at times. Whereas they're clearly just like, this, you have an entity as your patron, but you could also be a Spellblade Warlock if you want. But with that, anything else you got to say about Warlock, buddy?
no, I'm a little disappointed, but I think it can still work pretty well if you do it the right
It's still
way.
got potential. It's got plenty of potential. Um, But all right, with that, then let's move on to the next one we'll talk about. This is the final class that we will be talking about in the 2024 5.5 edition D&D. And that is, my dear friends, the cleric. Cleric, obviously, almost kind of being the other end of the spectrum, the other side of the coin to the warlock. Similar vibe, but or else similar mechanics and kind of aspects, but different vibe entirely. Clerics draw power from the realms of the gods and harness it to work miracles. Blessed by a deity, a pantheon, or another immortal entity, a cleric can reach out to the divine magic of the outer planes where gods dwell and channel it to bolster people and battle foes. I believe all of their normal stats and everything are basically the same. D8, skills, all that other good stuff. Um, Again, biggest change, one of the biggest changes, no longer can prepare spells based off of your wisdom modifier. You just get a set amount, which is 22. The same as, I believe, every other class except for Warlock and Wizard. Um, right off the bat, you get your spell casting. Wisdom is your modifier for that you're going to want to use, your primary thing. Starting at level 1, one of the biggest differences, obviously, between them is used to be at level 1, just like the Warlock, you used to get your subclass, your Divine Domain at level 1. That's no longer the case, obviously. So instead, they replaced it with Divine Order. You have dedicated yourself to one of the following sacred roles of your choice, which is either you can choose to be a protector, you're trained for battle, so you gain proficiency in martial weapons and training with heavy armor, which is great because it used to be you have to choose a very specific subclass to get training with martial weapons and heavy armor. Now, you can just get that shit. You can either do that or the other one, which is Thaumaturge. So that basically is like, one extra cantrip from the cleric spell list. In addition, your mystical connection to the divine gives you a bonus to your intelligence, arcana, or religion checks. The bonus equals your wisdom modifier. So you basically can go the route of being more of a more martial based cleric or a more magic spell class or spell based cleric. Um, So, you know, kind of pick your poison, gives you a little bit of extra, you know, like role play and stuff, as you'd like to go. Starting at level 2, I believe it is still technically the same. You get your channel divinity. And obviously your channel divinity is initially just going to be turn undead. Although they did change that. It used to be just turn undead was your initial channel divinity, and you got your other channel divinity based off your subclass. Now, right off the bat, you get both turn undead as well as divine spark is a new one. I do believe, yeah. Now at level 2, you start with 2 effects. Each time you use this class's channel divinity, choose which channel divinity effect from this class to create. You gain additional effects options at higher cleric levels. You can use this class's channel divinity twice. You regain one of its expended uses when you finish a short rest, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. You gain additional uses when you reach certain cleric levels. So before, I do believe the old one was, let's see, choose which effect. I believe back in the day, you only had one use of your channel divinity. You had 2 effects, but you only had one use. Until you had to do like I believe, oh, no, excuse me, I'm wrong. You could also use your channel divinity twice between rests. You could use it, oh, I'm sorry, no, at 6th level, you could use it twice between rests. That's what it was. Apologies. So right off the bat now, you can use your channel divinity twice at 2nd level. But you get it back from a short or long rest. Before, you could only use it once at 2nd level. You could use it twice at 6th level, and then 3 times at 18th level. And you would just get all of those back when you finish a short or a long rest. Now it's a little bit different, where you have to kind of keep a little bit more track. Starting at level 2, you get 2 channel divinity uses, and you can regain one of those uses at a short rest, or if you use all of them, you can get them all back at a long rest. And then you're going to get more as you level up, of course, too. So the newer one, Divine Spark, is as a magic action, you point your holy symbol at another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself and focus divine energy at it. Roll a 1d8 and add your wisdom modifier. You either restore hit points to the creature equal to that total, or force the creature to make a con saving throw. On a fail, the creature takes necrotic or radiant damage, your choice, equal to that total. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage rounded down. So you can either choose to just deal damage or heal damage with your divine spark, which is cool. I kind of like that. You of course have you also roll an additional d8 when you reach cleric levels 7, 13, and 18, so it caps out at 4d8 at level 18. You of course have other than that your iconic turn undead, which is basically each undead creature of your choice within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw when you use a magic action. If it fails, it has the frightened and incapacitated conditions for 1 minute, and for that duration, it tries to move as far away from you as it can on its turns. The effect ends early on the creature if it takes any damage, if you, the cleric, have incapacitated condition, or if you die. Again, basically the same thing as it always was. The Divine Spark is a decent addition. Again, it's basically just like another cantrip that you can use. But it also is like you can choose whether or not to heal or attack, so I like that. Level 3, you get your subclass. Level 4, your ability score improvements is normal. Level 5, you get the ability known as Seer Undead, which, if I believe, yeah, is slightly different from the original. For the 2024 edition, you get Seer Undead. Whenever you use Turn Undead, you can roll a number of d8s equal to your Wisdom modifier and add the rolls together. Each undead that fails its saving throw against that use of Turn Undead takes radiant damage equal to the roll's total. This damage doesn't end the turn effect. So basically, they well, I mean, it depends. Because again, they switched this out for the other 5th level ability back in the day, which was Destroy Undead, which was kind of busted depending on how powerful of a cleric you were, to be fair. Or how powerful the undead were, to be fair. So Destroy Undead at 5th level, when an undead fails its saving throw against your turn undead feature, the creature is instantly destroyed if its challenge rating is at or below a certain threshold. So if you're at 5th level, undead would have to be CR half or lower. At 8th level, it would have to be CR1 or lower. 11th level would be 2 or lower. 14th level, 3 or lower. And 17th level, 4 or lower. So any undead with a CR rating of 4 or lower at 17th level or higher, you could just instantly destroy. However, of course, it was basically completely useless against any undead more powerful than that, which there are a lot. There are a lot of undead that were higher than CR4. So it was great for like, obviously the most iconic moment. We've all seen it, especially now with Critical Role season 1 on fucking, Amazon, or was it season 2? It may have been season 2 on fucking Amazon, where Pike comes swarming in, hits the fucking her turn undead and just decimates like an entire army horde of undead skeletons and zombies. Fucking iconic. That is literally like every cleric 2014's dream back in the day, to just decimate just hordes of undead with their turn undead. Or rather, in this case, destroy undead. However, that's no longer the case, unless, of course, they are still weak. You can do that with seer undead. Like, it's still possible, because they are taking, I guess, at max, if you're level 5, if you have your wisdom up to 5, they would be taking at max a number 5d8 worth of damage. Which again, it could kill them, but obviously their change sacrifices, quantity of enemies that will just for sure go down depending on their level, as opposed to now it's you can do it more often, right? It applies to any undead. Even higher level undead will still take the 5d8 worth of damage. And even like lower undead, because let's see, Sam, what's like a common skeleton or zombies uh hit points here? Let's see.
Let me find out.
Skeleton. Just a normal
A normal zombie
skeleton.
has 2d8 plus 6 or 15.
Okay, and a normal skeleton has 13 HP. So they all take 5d8. Honestly, yeah, like I would say what the average of like 5d8 would be what, like 20 points of damage. So yeah, like, average probably like 21, 25 points, or 24 points of damage, I think might be the average, give or take. Uh, so yeah, I mean, you technically could just instantly destroy a lot of lower level undead, like, because those are like 1/4, 1/2. I don't know. I don't know if they'd really be able to like destroy.
A shadow, you can just kill shadows.
Like, I don't know. Like let's see real quick for like like CR4 undead, real quick. Like
Like a
what?
ghoul has 22 hit points or 5d8.
So yeah, like let's see. Fucking where's the CR? I wanted to change the CR challenge. There it is. We want
Ooh,
4
and how
to.
about an ogre zombie? CR2, 85,
Ooh.
85 hit points.
Okay, I mean that definitely isn't gonna kill an ogre zombie. It's gonna deal damage to them, of course. Like it maybe even might take off half their health, maybe like at max
It might
damage.
kill a vampirate. That's 40.
Vampire, that's
It's a
great.
it's from Spelljammer.
So an accursed defiler, like that's got 75. Agony, the ghost, it's got like 45. A banshee, it's not taking out a banshee, but it'll do if you get max damage, it definitely will hurt.
Like it won't kill a
Um,
mummy, but it'll do some good damage.
it could kill a deathlock. It could actually kill a deathlock if you deal max damage. Um,
How about a right? No, it's not gonna kill a white.
it could potentially kill a flame skull at max damage. If you get max damage, it could kill a flame skull.
Yeah, so like it's the damage is nothing to sneeze at, and it's like in an
No,
area.
it is a I think it is a at level 5. To be fair, I think it is an actually pretty decent level 5 ability. It's not really going to get any better, and to be fair, it is. And you also still do get the other turn undead effects on top of that, right? This is literally just adding to the turn undead of like they get the frightened condition and incapacitated for 1 minute unless you deal damage, and this doesn't break that effect, right? They take the damage, but they also still get turned undead. Whereas normally any other damage, if a creature is turned, if you deal damage to it, it usually ends the turned effect. Whereas this does not. So as a 5th level ability, it's not terrible. Um, Moving on, we get Blessed Strikes at level 7, which is different. We do not get that for the normal cleric in the old edition. Blessed Strikes, I do believe, is replacing like Divine Strikes or whatever for the cleric, which they usually got based off of their subclass too. But now I think it's just part of your baseline cleric abilities now instead of your subclass, which is basically like it's still maybe not useless, but okay. So basically, divine power infuses you in battle. You gain one of the following options of your choice, which is better. If you get either option from a cleric subclass in an older book, use only the option you choose for this feature. Divine Strike. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon, you can cause the target to take an extra 1d8 necrotic or radiant damage, your choice, or you can get potent spell casting, add your wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with any cleric cantrip. So now, instead of it being your subclass, unless, of course, like it says there, if you're using like an older subclass or subclass from a separate source book than from the Player's Handbook 2024, it just tells you that you can choose between these two options there instead now. Whereas it used to be before, it was usually just Divine Strike that you got. Like you, almost every cleric just got a specific type of Divine Strike, or not even a specific one. I think it was usually just like Necrotic or Radiant. You could just choose, I think. Either way, now you don't have to get a Divine Strike because a lot of the time Divine Strike was kind of bad for clerics, unless you're maybe like a war cleric, because you would be using your spells more than you'd be melee attacking with a weapon. But now you get potent spell casting, so it's still not great, to be honest with you, because at level 7, it's like you add your wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with any cleric cantrip, and you might not really be using a lot of cantrips to attack until, you run out of spell slots. Because otherwise you'll be using your spell slots to your actions to like heal your friends or deal like bigger damage to the enemy with your leveled spells. But it's not bad. It's not the worst thing. Because I mean clerics can still use like Toll the Dead. What are some other cleric attack spells?
Sacred Flame.
Sacred Flame. Go to
There's that
Sacred
new
Flame.
What's that new one? Holy whatever.
Something. So you could add your wisdom modifier to those, which isn't bad, but it's also not really great because you just, So moving on, level 10, we get Divine Intervention. I think it's slightly different from the original. You get Divine Intervention level 10 as a cleric as well, which was also technically that was the last ability you got as a baseline cleric.
Yeah, they changed it.
Back in 2014, your cleric, most of your shit was made up from your subclass for the most part, right? Because you got your subclass right away at level 1. Now you get a subclass level 3, and they made the cleric kind of their own thing. They added a lot of things to the base cleric rather than just the subclass. So Divine Intervention in the old days, in 2014, you can call on your deity to intervene on your behalf when your need is great. Imploring your deity's aid requires you to use your action. Describe the assistance you seek and roll percentile dice. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, your deity intervenes. The GM chooses the nature of the intervention. The effect of any cleric spell or cleric domain spell would be appropriate, but sometimes if your GM was particularly, creative, it could just be like a wish, literal Deus Ex Machina, divine intervention kind of thing. If your deity intervenes, you cannot use this feature again for 7 days. Otherwise, you can use it again after you finish a long rest. And then at 20th level, the divine intervention just succeeded automatically, no roll required. But basically, it was like, you had to roll a D100 dice and get either equal to your current level or under. So at level 10, you had to roll a 10 on a D&D 100, on a D100. That's literally 10% chance. There's a 10% chance that would happen, right? And obviously the chance would go up as you leveled up, but it was still highly, highly unlikely that that it would succeed. But if you did succeed, your GM could kind of just do whatever they wanted for the most part. It could just literally be a literal divine intervention Deus Ex Machina. For the new one, it's a little bit different. You call on your deity or pantheon to intervene on your behalf. As a magic action, choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast. As part of the same action, you cast that spell without expending a spell slot or needing material components. You cannot use this feature again until you finish a long rest. So they fucking gimped the shit out of this. They fucking nerfed the crap out of this. Now at level 10, technically speaking, you no longer have to roll a percentage dice. Like, it's no longer random. You do get the effect. You just basically get to cast any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require reaction, without expending like a spell slot or material components, and you can just do that. Yeah, like not great. It's not terrible because there's some pretty badass, powerful 5th level cleric spells. It's true, but kind of shit. It's not shit. It's underwhelming. It's just kind of underwhelming and just like, okay, cool. Moving on, level 14, you get improved blessed strikes, and the option you choose for blessed strikes grows more powerful. For the divine strike, the extra damage you deal to your divine strike increases to 2d8 instead of just 1. And then for potent spell casting, when you cast a cleric cantrip and deal damage to a creature with it, you can give vitality to yourself or another creature within 60 feet, granting a number of temporary hit points equal to twice your wisdom modifier. So probably 10 at this point, unless you got something special. Which again, isn't bad. That's not bad. You literally can deal damage and heal on top of it, kinda. Like, that makes your, and at this point at level 14, you're dealing at least, 3 times, you're rolling three dice. Your dice pool increases to at least 3, if not 4. Or is 4 at level 17? I forget when you're.
I think it's 4 at level 17.
Yeah. So you are at least dealing 3
3d8 plus your wisdom modifier.
Yeah, or or whatever the cantrip is. If you're doing Toll the Dead, if they already took damage, you're dealing 3d12 damage and then getting 10 temporary hit points back for either yourself or another creature within 60 feet of you. So again, it's not terrible. It's not awesome, or conversely, you deal 2d8 extra damage of necrotic or radiant if you're, for some reason, a melee cleric. Level 19, you get an epic boon. Level 20, you get your greater divine intervention. This is your 20th level capstone ability. Now, back in the day, 2014, this was also the 20th level capstone, right? But that time, it just worked. You just got your divine intervention that you could do at level 10. You didn't have to roll for it. You just got whatever. So it was literally like a free wish spell without any of the backlash or the potential negative aspects of it. This one is a little bit different, but kind of the same. So let's talk about it. Greater divine intervention. You can call on even more powerful divine intervention. When you use your divine intervention, you can choose wish when you select a spell now. If you do so, you cannot use divine intervention again until you finish 2d4 long rests. So here's the problem with that, right? You cast wish. The issue is now you can either cast any spell of 8th level or lower without a cost, without requirements, and whatever else, and you're fine. But if you still choose to do the whole reality bending, just like, I'm going to make some shit happen imaginatively, like you're going to literally like take control of the world for a second, I would assume then you would still technically suffer the backlash of that. So they effectively gave you the freedom to choose whether or not you're going to use divine intervention without, like I said before, the original divine intervention, you just did it without suffering any of the backlash of it. But to be fair, you also didn't have control of it either. You know what I mean? You didn't technically, it was up to your GM on how your deity would help you, right? You would describe what you wanted to happen, what assistance you were seeking, and then your GM was technically the one that would decide what would be the most applicable, appropriate, or what they just thought was the most fun or interesting way to intervene. It did still technically have to help you, to be fair. This gives you basically more direct control of what happens at the cost of, like, you no longer kind of just get to get off scot-free here. So take that as you wish. I think it's a bit of a nerf, all things considered. Although technically speaking, it whether you're level 10 or level 20, it just happens now, regardless. But it is obviously exceedingly less powerful than it was before because it's exceedingly less abstract. Um, highly far more mechanical than it is roleplay-esque. Um, but with that being the case, that is the base level cleric or the base foundation class of cleric. What do you think of the changes, Sammy? Obviously, they did add some things.
Again, I feel it's funny because looking over like the kind of spells you have access to and comparing the old cleric to the new, I think baseline cleric kind of got nerfed a little. Um,
Well, I mean, kind of, but not really, because it
but
was
not
also
really.
like they
Because
technically got more things that because ironically they just basically took the shit you would get during a with your subclass and they just added it to the baseline cleric. So it's almost like the only thing that really got nerfed was divine intervention pretty heavily. Everything
yeah,
else, and also I guess destroy undead slash seer undead. But again, it's kind of a change where it's like, hey, now your seer undead can affect any undead all the time. You're not guaranteed to destroy, CR4 undead and lower now. It's not like a guaranteed just insta kill, but now it also still technically can affect undead of higher CR too now, which is like,
that's nothing to that kind of damage is nothing
no,
to sneeze at
no,
either.
5d8 and you still
To
technically
all of them, like
yeah,
it's not
to
just
any of them that
one.
fail the saving throw, they still technically take half damage even if they succeed. And they still technically are affected by the turn undead effects if they fail. So it's like either way, it does make turn undead a bit better because turn undead, to be fair, was kind of like at higher levels, it wasn't nearly as effective because higher, undead could resist it. And then it was kind of just like, yeah. And then destroy undead at higher levels, completely useless. It did nothing to higher level undead. So it's a change of like, quality of effect against lower level enemies to it affects all undead now, even at higher levels, but at a much more reduced amount. Um, which
I think maybe that's a good thing overall.
yeah, I get what they're going for. Um, I don't know. I haven't played one yet, so I guess if anybody has played one, let us know if you've played one of a 2014 cleric as opposed to 2024. Let us know what you guys think of the change here. I haven't played one yet, so I wouldn't know. I would know like how it feels. You know what I mean? Um, but with that, let's go on to the subclasses real quick. Let's see. Which one do you think you want to talk? We want to talk about, Sammy. You want to talk about war, trickery, lights, or life? I'm kind of wanting to check out war to see if they did anything different with war because war is usually one of the not great ones, even though you kind of want it to be. Um, so let's see. Let's check out. Let's just see real quick. War compared to the old one. Um, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Still 10 for cleric. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Same amount of spells that you get. For your divine or for your yeah, for your channel divinity, you still do get guided strike as well as no, it's just, okay, you just get guided strike now. So you no longer get War God's blessing
Yeah.
anymore. Um So Guided Strike is a channel divinity that you gain from War Domain, as well as I think a couple of others. Where when you are a creature within 30 feet of you misses an attack roll, you can expend one use to your channel divinity and give that roll a +10 bonus, potentially causing it to hit. When you use this feature to benefit another creature's attack roll, you must take a reaction to do so. Um, whereas in the original one, it was basically just when you make an attack, if you use your channel divinity to get a +10 bonus to the roll. Uh, and you can make this choice after you see the roll, but before the GM says whether the attack hits or misses. So with the new version, not only do you get the +10, but you can also give it to a creature within 30 feet of you if you miss the attack already. And I believe again, as it said, if it's just yourself, you do not have to use a reaction if you miss, but if another creature misses, then you do have to use a reaction to grant them this feature. So it's a little bit helpful in terms of like after the fact. If you don't need to use it, you don't have to. Whereas before it was a little bit more of a gamble. So it's still great. Plus and bonus, awesome. We love that. You get your domain spells. Back in the day, you got for first level, Divine Favor and Shield of Faith. Third level was Magic Weapon and Spiritual Weapon. Fifth level was Crusader's Mantle and Spirit Guardians. Seventh level was Freedom of Movement and Stone Skin. Ninth level was Flame Strike and Hold Monster. Now this right here, this is a pretty stacked spell list. It's not bad at all. These extra spells, all of these are pretty decent all around in terms of spells. For the new 2024, again, it's similar to like the Warlock. It changes. You get extra spells at third level, fifth level, seventh, and ninth. And you get Guiding Bolt, Magic Weapon, Shield of Faith, and Spiritual Weapon right at third level, which is awesome. You still get Crusader's Mantle and Spirit Guardians. At fifth level, you get Fire Shield and Freedom of Movement at seventh, and then you get Hold Monster and Steel Wind Strike at ninth. So they changed a few things up there, here or there. It's okay. Fire Shield, Steel Wind Strike. Steel Wind Strike is really great, but it is still very kind of, if you want maximum benefit, it's very situational, but it can still be a great spell regardless. Hold Monster is awesome. Freedom of Movement is awesome. Spirit Guardians is awesome. Crusader's Mantle. I'm not as familiar with Crusader's Mantle, but I don't think it's really that great from what I'm seeing. But obviously, Guiding Bolt, Shield of Fate, Spiritual Weapon are awesome. Magic Weapon is meh. But moving on, you still do get access to War Priests at third level, which as a bonus action, you can make one attack with a weapon or unarmed strike. You can use this bonus action a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier, minimum of once, and you can always use it when you finish a short or long rest. Basically the same thing as the old one as well. It's the same thing. When you use the attack action, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. So now, you don't technically have to make an attack action with your action first. You can just bonus action attack. Once now with War Priest. So a little bit more flexible, a little bit more, so you can like cast a spell and then also attack. So this, being a War Priest, being a War Domain Cleric gives you a little bit more reason to go down the path of like the Protector, as well as taking Divine Strike as a Cleric, right? Because you can be up close and personal, still use your action to cast a badass spell, but then your bonus action to then attack on top of that. So you get your Divine Strike or your Protector shit too. So again, this War Domain in 2024 already is lining up way better than the War Domain in 2014. War Domain in 2014 wasn't the worst, but it was also just not great compared to a lot of the others in regards to what it could kind of do. Moving on, at 6th level, you gain War God's Blessing, which is same thing. It's or at least the same title as 2014. For the 2014 version, at 6th level, when a creature within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, you can use a reaction to grant that creature a +10 bonus to the roll using your channel divinity. So basically, War God's Blessing was just the same thing as Guided Strike is now. It was just now. It was basically just like now. You could give that to somebody else at 6th level. So it's the two things are completely different now. War God's Blessing in 2024 is now you can expend a use of your channel divinity to cast Shield of Faith or Spiritual Weapon rather than expending a spell slot. When you cast either spell in this way, the spell doesn't require concentration. Instead, the spell lasts for 1 minute, but it ends early if you cast that spell again, have the incapacity condition, or die. You know what's interesting? Back in the day, Spiritual Weapon didn't used to be a concentration spell.
Did they change it?
They did. It is now a concentration spell.
Ooh, that's not good.
That's that's a bit icky. I'm not a fan of that. What the fuck? I'm a little upset about that, actually. But okay, with this, it goes back to its 2014 version. So, and I guess you could also technically use Shield of Faith now with it, which is that's pretty good. Shield of Faith, you get an extra +2 bonus to AC for 10 minutes without having to use a Oh, never mind. It's only 1 minute for this one. Well, okay. I mean, okay. It's, Shield of Faith at least gets a little bit of a bonus at the cost of duration, I guess. Spiritual Weapon literally just becomes the 2014 Spiritual Weapon. So take that what you will, I guess. You could just use 2014 Spiritual Weapon. I think I might just do that, but whatever. Um, Level 17, the capstone ability for the subclass is Avatar of Battle. You gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Okay, now I know initially that might sound kind of underwhelming, but you all might be missing a very important caveat here that they did not specifically stipulate that it was from non-magical attacks only. That's huge. Remember what we said about the Barbarian last time we talked? About how rare it is to get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing without it specifically being specifically specified that it was only to non-magical versions of those attacks? Well, back in the day for War Domain Clerics, at 17 level, you also had Avatar of Battle, but with the same exact effect, except for the fact that it was only from non-magical attacks. Which, again, at level 17, I got news for you. Just about everything was dealing magical-based damage at that point. It was effectively a completely useless ability. But now, in 2024, lo and behold, they gave you basically the ability, you are just now, without even having to rage, without even having to do anything, you just have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, period. Period. That is pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty good. Like that, they have 100% buffed War Domain. Still don't know, I haven't checked out the other ones yet to see how maybe they stack up to the other one. Like, but again, this I would definitely say, I think they definitely buffed up War Domain here. This is definitely a buff, even rather than a nerf. Because they just gave you guided strike. They gave you basically both things of guided strike. They gave you more stuff while basically keeping everything else. You literally have everything from 2014, but better, plus a little bit extra, which it's not that much. Like, again, the new War God's Blessing, it's still not awesome. It's still not great, but it's definitely better than the old one. Because you get the old War God's Blessing in guided strike at level 3 right away. You can just do it now. So, hey, and also the War Priest, definitely a buff because it's just a bonus action now at any time. You don't have to take the attack action first. You can just do it as a bonus action. So, honestly, with this addition, Sammy, what would you rate the new 2024 Cleric / War Domain Cleric as opposed to the 2014 counterpart?
I'd say like a B. To be completely honest, like I don't necessarily hate the changes made to Divine Intervention. What I will say, I think this class is going to suffer more from the spell changes and not necessarily the cleric changes. With a lot of these spellcasters, it's going to be different depending on what they've changed in the spells themselves. And that's going to be the hard bit. Clerics overall are going to get a huge buff because healing is more.
It's true.
All healing is basically like half of it's like doubled.
Yeah, fucking so cure wounds, your healing word. Oh my god, it's crazy how effective it is now.
The amount that you're gonna heal is now more than it's ever been, with less resources used. So, to me at least, that's gonna be a big plus for cleric. So I'm gonna say maybe like a B- for now, just to see kind of where it goes.
Fair. For me, I'd say I'd give this a solid B+, if not maybe an A-, honestly. I don't, yeah, the only real thing that I feel like it was quote unquote kind of nerfed was Divine Intervention, obviously, as well as obviously like Destroy Undead, but Destroy Undead also got the adage of just being effective basically the entire time, right? It will always, if you ever use Turn Undead, your Seer Undead will still technically always be effective, regardless. As opposed to Destroy Undead, that after a certain level, it's basically useless or non-existent. And even, the improved blessed strikes as opposed to then switching over to, you can choose to do either potent spell casting or divine strike. Um, Rather than it kind of being like, you just get divine strike. So you can choose to be as well as like, you get the protector or the thaumaturge. So you can choose to be more of a melee kind of fighter build a little bit. Like, you got a little bit more of a melee war cleric build, or a bit more of specifically the dedicated spellcaster in you. Um, Again, neither of those are particularly great, but they're definitely better than they were before, because before it was literally just divine strike. You just got that, and it was almost useless for the most part. So with war domain becomes far more viable, of course. But I would say, yeah, solid. I would say personally for me, solid B plus to maybe A minus. Um, Depending, like you said, on how the spells kind of work out for them. Um, any other closing thoughts you got, buddy, for either the warlock or the cleric?
No, I think they're kind of similar in a way where I think the changes to what these classes have available to them are going to also come down to what else they've changed outside of the classes. Um, and since we haven't really played them, it's hard to know for sure.
Yeah, quite how they feel.
So I'm intrigued, but kind of apprehensive in both of them for
Fair.
a couple of reasons. I guess I'll just never use spiritual weapon again, but that's
We'll still use it. It just will just always feel wrong
this
and
guy
icky and
right here.
ugly. And
Not doing it.
just use the 2014. That's what I'm gonna do.
No,
It's
if you're gonna
stupid.
use the new rules, just use the new rules. You can't
Nah, fuck that.
mixing
All
and matching is just gonna fuck it all up.
it won't. The only difference is that it's just not a concentration spell. That's literally the only difference. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. And that's I'm just not gonna do that. Or just play a war domain cleric, and there you go. You can use the old
Sounds
spiritual
yeah.
weapon within the new rules. There you go.
But I mean, I like that they're trying to change things and make things more streamlined. I
More
don't,
more balanced, yeah, more
yeah,
balanced, streamlined. I
dude.
get
I
it.
mean, grabbing cleric and kind of nerfing parts of it, like they nerfed the fuck out of inflict wounds and stuff like that.
They really did. They took away twin spell for the sorcerer. Like,
Yeah, like
oh my
there's
god.
I kind of get some of it.
Took away so many of the invocations for warlock. Like, I don't know, man. I get it. They nerfed divine smite. They buffed sneak attack though. Like, yeah, only real time will tell. Hopefully we'll both get an opportunity to kind of play these classes in their most recent forms and kind of get a much more in-depth personal experience and feeling for them to kind of feel them out and come back. Maybe we'll revisit these classes and subclasses at some point when we've done so, and we'll be able to give a little bit more of a updated an updated discussion and breakdown of how we feel and how they were working. But for now, I believe that's all that we've got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much if you stuck with us this long. Again, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, the whole shebang. We always appreciate you guys so much. If you did, we hope you enjoy, because we certainly enjoy doing this. Um, and as always, be sure to tune in with us again next time when we take another deep dive down into the archive. Auf
Yeah, buddy.
Wiedersehen!